This is Diana Shad, Director of the Family Business Alliance. Joining me is Mike Fettig, President of Fettig. Mike, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We always like to start by getting a brief background of the business. So with that, can you tell us a little bit about Fettig and the services that you provide?
Currently, Fettig is a recruiting and staffing firm serving West Michigan, primarily in the spaces of manufacturing, but then also some professional staffing positions as well. So our business partners with companies and helps them find the talent that they need, starting at the most entry-level positions through some management-level positions. So we have the recruiting in-house. In most cases, we're finding the people for the business, and then the person works for us for a period of time before the customers choose to hire those people in. So it's been an exciting few years to see that develop.
Who is your standard customer? Is it a larger company or a smaller, or do you do both?
We do staff some of the local billion-dollar companies. The main customer is what we consider mid to small. So that would be someone who employs about 50 people up to 500 employees. And that space tends to be a little bit more aligned with our services, where they're looking for a quality level individual that they can develop year after year and hire onto their teams. That's typically the size company. They usually have recruiting teams or an HR team, but they don't necessarily have the in-house recruiting talent to go out and find those people on a regular basis.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about the history and how you started with the company?
So our family business dynamic is a little bit different in this business than some of the other stories. I was actually in this industry before our family bought this company. Kind of fell into the industry. I was a teacher and knew I loved people and wanted to work with people, but didn't know where that would take me, and got into the recruiting industry. And then my dad had an opportunity where he ended up buying a company, which at that time it was called Ameritemp Staffing. That was in 2007. So about 12 years ago, came over to the company shortly after and been a part of it ever since. The organization was pretty small. It was just a couple person recruiting firm then. Now we have a few offices and employ nearly 1,000 people daily around West Michigan. So we've seen some major changes through the years, but we're kind of stuck to the core, which was finding businesses that cared about people to partner with and to help them find great people available in their space.
So how many years have you owned Fettig then?
So it's been 12 years.
12 years.
Yeah, since 2007. So actually February 2007, so just past the 12-year mark.
And what are some of the challenges that you've had with the business since you've started?
Well, one of the largest challenges was pretty much straight out of the gates. A year and a half after the purchase, you have the 2008 recession, which was quite a challenge because businesses didn't need people at that period of time. So it's kind of like selling luxury yachts, where no one is interested in our product at that moment, or very few companies were. So we saw our local day-to-day business drop by about 80% overnight. And that was a pretty big eye-opener and not an easy challenge to overcome. We found ourselves going after business that was outside of West Michigan. So we were staffing in other states overnight, which was challenging to figure out and to get started. But we launched that. We also started focusing on different industry segments. We've retained some of those focuses since then, and we would have never gotten into those spaces as heavy as we did. But we were able to find who was still hiring and went after those markets. And we made it through 2008, and we're still able to be profitable, which was a pretty incredible thing. I mean, our team members did a lot to make it through that.
Well, now you're facing kind of the opposite challenge. I see that you've had growth of 20% the last couple of years. How do you deal with that? And it's exciting, but I'm sure there's challenges that come along with that as well.
Yeah, it is. I think the businesses that are growing face challenges related to their own internal talent, their people. Staff is, for us, it's the most important part of our business, and you're asking for more out of people sooner than they might be able to deliver on those types of things. And you're also looking for and adding new people regularly to our team. So as our team and our company grows, talent's probably one of the biggest factors, and we just look to really quickly develop people and to focus on their growth. So that's been a challenge. And I think the other thing is just working with a good strategic plan and continuing to focus on that and look at those things quarterly and focus on those initiatives, because things are changing so quickly in our business with the growth. That's been, I think, those are a couple of the largest challenges because of the growth.
Well, I know West Michigan in general is just thriving and that there is a real demand for talent. How do you keep up with those recruiting needs?
It is difficult. So today we're working and closely partnering with our customers to help them decide which directions they want to go. Where do they want to spend money? Are they considering raises in certain departments or with different shifts and things like that? Some of those discussions need to be happening on a regular basis today because it is getting harder and it continues to be. So, and then we're also helping those customers to market themselves and to highlight what their strengths are to those employees, so that the employees that they have, they can retain. And so the new ones that we're onboarding can feel that they're valued and have some great opportunities. So it's just working closely with customers and trying to help them in an advisory role with understanding what the market is doing and what is changing, how quickly it is changing.
Right, yeah. Well, let's switch gears a little. I want to talk a little bit about the family, because I know you have some other family members who you work with. Can you talk a little bit about who's involved in the business today?
So my brother and I lead the company. He joined the family business, I believe, about 6 years ago, a little over 6 years ago. Our dad is less active. He is around. He's focused on another career segment for himself and doing some other things, but he still is able to give us some added insight and some value through the years that he's spent in the business community in West Michigan.
What are some of the challenges that come up working with family members?
I think family, or even those that you've just been close to for a long time, the challenges are, those people's strengths and weaknesses and buttons to push a little bit more intimately than you do with others, and you're more open, and so it's easier to escalate situations with family than it could be with employees or customers, etc. So I think the challenge is knowing when to treat family like family and treat family like partners, and having a balance in that space.
And how do you do that? I know you do a lot of, we talked about hunting, that as a family you do a lot of outside activities. What are other things that you do to kind of have family time versus work time?
So our family is really intentional about spending time together outside of work. We are big into sporting events and cheer for Michigan State and go to games together and things like that, but then also take hunting trips together. But as it relates to the business, we have to have ways that we communicate regularly. We do have meetings weekly together, and then also with our leadership team weekly as well. You have to have ways to be able to exit those meetings if things aren't going well, and then also ways to connect with outside support. So specific advisors to each of us to help us as we work together. The beginning stages, I think, are harder if you're looking to partner with a sibling. I think knowing that the first couple years would probably be the most challenging. They were for us, but today it's a very different world. Our strengths and weaknesses balance each other out, and it's a great partnership where in the beginning, when your strengths and weaknesses are different, you don't necessarily value each other's strengths and weaknesses in the same way. But as you learn those things, you can realize that for us, it's made a pretty strong partnership.
Are there formal resources that you've used to sort of work with that relationship with your father and your brother? Do you work with any outside coaches or anything like that have helped with increasing that communication? Yeah,
so for us, it's been one of the primary sources has been the Family Business Alliance. So that's been we've each been a part of forum groups where we meet with peers in our own that are going through similar like things, and we're able to discuss what we're dealing with. And that's been an amazing part of each one of our growth and development, how we can work on the family business. And then also for us, an outside advisory board has been really helpful, where these people understand your business, they care about it, and you can grab lunches or meetings or phone calls, and they can help you to understand the bigger picture. And it's just nice to have outside opinions on that. So I'd say the Family Business Alliance and outside advisory board would probably be the biggest things that have helped us. But then we've also used other outside help along the way as well. Good.
So I want to talk a little bit about the next gen. I know that you and Carla have 5 children, and Jay and his wife have 2. What are you thinking about the next generation and their role in Fettig?
Well, it excites me. I think some people today get concerned, and there's challenges that presents. I have no idea what tomorrow brings, if any of my children or any of Jay's kids would be interested. I love one of my nephews, or both of them, but I love one of them is hilarious. He's just a little guy and super smart little kid, and I think it'd be amazing to end up being able to work with him and my own children. And for my wife and I, for Carla, we talk about the kids, what they need and what their strengths are, and what those opportunities might look like, whether it be in the family business or outside of it, and just trying to teach each kid in the way that they need to be taught, I think is really important. So who knows what that might be, but I'm not opposed to it, and I'm not saying they have to do it. So it's just going to be a balance for what works for them and what works for the business.
I know they're still quite young, but have you introduced them to the business by coming here and just meeting people and learning more about what you do? How have you done that?
Yeah, they do. They've seen the business. I have kind of some routines where when I go see some of my other offices, I'll even bring one of my youngest daughters along with me and let her be able to meet team members and things. And they have some exposure. I use a lot of the business leadership challenges and discussions is to help them understand why their school is important and why it matters with how they treat people as it relates to their success in business or in life. So we use those examples all the time around the dinner table and just in one-on-one conversations.
Yeah, there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that, with being a family business owner. There's a lot of responsibility to the employees and the people that you work with. So it's good for them to understand that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I know that you also had a grandfather who started a family business. How did that, growing up around a family business, impact what you're doing today?
My grandfather started a business late 60s, and then my dad ended up purchasing that and ran that, I think, together, both of them, over 35 plus years in West Michigan. And I think it really shapes me, or as the children growing up in the business. For me, I think it helps with business acumen and understanding of how business works and the values and some of those responsibilities related to taking care of your employees and your customers. And then also it helped me with work ethic and understanding balance and some of those types of things. I think that business, my dad sold that in 2004, and I think that experience also helped with creating like a bit of a debt adversity, or we treat debt differently today in this business, and we make decisions somewhat differently. You learn from those past experiences. I think how my dad and I act together and how we work together is helped by my grandfather and my dad's relationship. So I'm kind of a weird balance of generation one, because I've been a primary part of the growth and growing the current business we have, but I'm also kind of G2 and kind of G3 in a lot of ways. So I think you use all of your experiences to help build on the future, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. Well, any last words of wisdom that you have to offer to our listeners about working with family?
I think for us, the idea has been the business is important and family is too. You have to figure out those balances for your own family business and for your own family, and focus on those and figure out when you're going to focus more on the business and when you're going to focus more on the family, and keep them both as very important parts of your life. And I think then you'll be able to be more successful.
Well, wonderful. Well, great advice to end on. Thank you so much, Mike. We really appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you.